What's going on, everybody? We are here to dive into the Kouri Richins trial. We're currently wrapping up day 2. There's a multitude of different things going on, and I want to dissect everything we've heard so far. The biggest topic being THC Gummies, which I am sure that we've all indulged in and not died from. Now, the defense obviously has its own motivations. The prosecution has a bevy of evidence. I'm going to go over a couple things that the prosecution has. It's a very circumstantial case. There's no smoking gun. There's no, needle with the fentanyl in it. There is no direct avenue for how it got in this gentleman's body. I believe his name was Eric. But I want to talk about the weed gummies. They keep talking about these weed gummies and maybe they were, drugged with fentanyl. I also want to go over other evidence in the case. Dr. Grande here lays it out perfectly. It's a very circumstantial case, but the circumstantial evidence is pretty undisputable. It's pretty insane when you think about it. And in my mind, it gives no reasonable doubt. We'll see what the defense comes up with. But so far, we're really focused on the weed gummies, which is something I want to dive into right now because I'm highly experienced when it comes into that topic. I also want to talk about Lawyer Lee right here. Follow her channel. She has 200K subscribers. She talks about the walk the dog letter. I want to dissect and kind of give my opinion on a couple sentences in that letter. It was a letter found in Kouri Richins' cell that was labeled attorney-client privilege, even though it wasn't. And she later tried to excuse it as she was writing her own novel. It's just a book. It's all fiction. Kind of similar to the Is He Still With Us children's book that she tried to profit and make money off of. Obviously, we're only in day 2 of this trial. There's a lot to come, a lot of witnesses that haven't spoken yet, a lot of evidence that hasn't been given yet. But I just want to kind of dive into this weed gummy situation here. I'm going to pull up a clip from the Lawyer You Know. I'm sure a lot of the true crime community here on YouTube is aware of this channel. Go follow this channel. It's excellent. But here's just a question that popped up on the live feed for the Lawyer You Know that kind of got me thinking because they kept talking about these weed gummies, these THC gummies. It was one of the excuses that Kouri Richins gave to the police when they first showed up after she called them about her husband, Eric, being blue, being stiff as a board. You guys get it. She threw out a multitude of different reasons. He's got Lyme's disease. I guess he was hiking. He got bit by a tick, a little tick of a thing, bit him on the fucking weenus. He also liked THC gummies. He had a certain allergy. His blood pressure was high, blah, 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 blah. They're really talking about these weed gummies. They're not talking about the Moscow Mule. They haven't really brought that up whatsoever. The testing on the Moscow Mule cup, the ingredients in the Moscow Mule. They're talking about the THC weed gummies that Kouri interjected into this conversation. And here's a question one of the audience members asked to the Lawyer You Know. And I thought it was kind of interesting. Let's see.
Cost of him was pretty good. Why does it matter even if he had a pallet of gummies? Is that fentanyl? So I think what the defense...
Sorry, let me get rid of the bottom here.
Why does it matter even if he had a pallet of gummies? Is that fentanyl? So I think what the defense is going to want the jury to think or believe is that those gummies were laced with fentanyl because that type of stuff happens. They asked the ME, which we'll talk about, there's a lot of accidental fentanyl overdoses, right? Or intentional. People ingested or are taking some kind of drug and there's fentanyl in it, right? And she says, yes, I think that's what they're trying to set up. I don't like the way the state says.
All right, so the defense is trying to set up that these THC gummies could have potentially been laced with fentanyl. He took one. He was trying to get high, trying to, smoke a little weed, some of the devil's lettuce. You got to toke the magic dragon, yeah? And they're thinking maybe it was laced. How many times has there been a overdose on fentanyl by mistake, You get certain drugs, it's laced. Everyone's heard of that. There's been 1 million deaths from fentanyl in the United States. It's a true issue. It's a epidemic, I should say. And there are a lot of drugs that are laced with fentanyl. Let's talk about that. What drugs are typically laced with fentanyl? Well, what does fentanyl do? It's a painkiller. Similar to morphine, oxycodone, hydrocodone, Percocet, Vicodin. You know, these types of medications, fentanyl could kind of mimic. So if you're an opioid addict and you're looking for some Perc 30s, well, those are typically prescribed by a doctor. They're pharmaceutical, and they're made in a lab, right? They're kind of hard to get your hands on at this point in time. They've really been cracking down on the Percocet, Vicodin epidemic that we're going through in the opioid addiction that a lot of these people that are getting surgeries, broken bones, need for pain-killing purposes. So if you're on the black market and you're looking for a Perc 30, chances are you're getting pressed pills with fentanyl in it. It kind of mimics the painkiller, euphoria. Heroin addicts, similar, same thing. It's an opiate. It kills pain. That is kind of harder to get your hands on, and also you need to give your customer more heroin than you do fentanyl. If you get fentanyl, you can distribute it in lower dosages than heroin. Saves you money. You put a 0.1 instead of a 0.9. You put a 0.2 instead of a 1.5. You save product, you make more money, you distribute more drugs. It's not rocket science. Weed is not typically laced with fentanyl. Is it possible? Yes. Has it happened? I'm sure. I'm sure there's some drug lovers out there that love opiates, that love painkillers, that love marijuana, that maybe sometimes sprinkle their weed with fentanyl, Percocet, heroin, just like we used to do back in college. Not with the opiates, but, maybe put a little Xanny bar in there, cocaine. I'm just saying. But what would the purpose be of lacing a THC gummy, especially in today's world, 2026, where you can get most of these online now? Get a medical marijuana card like that. Online doctor, tell him you got anxiety, tell him you got PTSD, tell him you got pain, whatever arthritis. There's a glaucoma, my eyes are bad. There's a million excuses to get a weed card at this point in time. What would the purpose be of lacing THC with fentanyl? The only purpose of that, lacing any drug with fentanyl, is so that you can save money. I don't have the heroin. It's more expensive. I'm going to put a little fentanyl in. They'll feel the same euphoria, but I can sell it at lower dosages. It's a little cheaper to get, and I can get more bang for my buck. It's like when, you hang out with a girl or a girl's friend or a buddy's girlfriend who was like, yeah, I smoked some weed in college. That shit was laced, man. I had a bad high, and oh, man, I was seeing ghosts. Like, most likely you smoked spice or salvia, or maybe your buddy put some coke or Xan on the weed. It's very rare to get spiked weed unless you're at a festival, EDM festival. They're sucking nitrous. They got this weird tainted weed. We're all smoking these weird blunts. If you're just in a typical situation, you're not going to get laced weed. It's pretty fucking rare. So the odds of a laced THC gummy, you're going to go through all that trouble to make a gummy, and then you're going to put fentanyl. For what purpose? Fentanyl doesn't feel like marijuana. If your customers don't want that and they don't OD, they're going to hit you up, text you, and say, why did I pass out? Why was I itchy? Why could I not move my body? You're a fucking weirdo. I'm going to report you. If they want that effect, they're not going to be getting weed gummies. They're going to be getting Perc 30s, Vicodin 15s, so on and so forth. It's not something that typically happens. And they're trying to kind of group it up with, well, a lot of drugs are laced with fentanyl, man. How many fentanyl overdoses are from, misdiagnoses and guys that didn't know it was fat. They thought it was something else and it was laced with it. Yeah, they thought they were buying opiates. They thought they were getting heroin, Percocet, and they actually got fentanyl, which is more deadly in higher dosages, and they OD'd. It's not weed. Okay? Let's get that out of the way. So let's dive in a little more. This trial just kicked off, so we've only heard from a few witnesses here. There's still a lot of testimony to go over, the body cam footage. I'm not here to declare Kouri Richins is guilty. I don't know for sure. Do I have an inkling? Am I a little skeptical of her throwing out the weed gummies, the Lyme's disease, sitting there, crisscross applesauce, not condoling her children, selling a mansion that Eric didn't want to sell 10 hours after he died, and then trying to sell his residence even though it wasn't in her trust? The trustee was actually Eric's sister. Are all those things a little bit, I don't know, suspicious? I would say so. I would say fucking so. But innocent until proven guilty. Everybody knows that. Let's look at what Dr. Grande, given this is 2 years ago, things have changed. In here, he talks about the drug dealer willing to talk to police, that Kouri got the fentanyl. She asked for the Michael Jackson dosage. Obviously, Michael Jackson OD'd. So that's not a good look. I would have thunk it. But, things have changed. There was a middleman in the drug deal. Now he's flipping his testimony, saying it wasn't fentanyl. It was really hydrocodone 5s, but she wanted something stronger, so he gave her perk 30s, not fentanyl. I think he's trying to cover his own ass because he's implicated on, homicide charges at this point. So, no, dude, it wasn't fentanyl. It's perk 30. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't, guy. Anyway, let's see what Dr. Grande has to say. We'll kind of dissect it, give our opinion on it. This isn't the end-all, be-all, but he dropped some solid facts here that I think you guys should see.
Kouri purchased fentanyl the first time and died just 6 days after she purchased it the second time. Kouri mentioned to the drug dealer that she wanted the same drug that caused the death of Michael Jackson. Why was she requesting a drug associated with a fatality if her plans for the drug were recreational or for pain relief? Kouri admitted to the police that she prepared an alcoholic beverage for Eric in the kitchen.
That's kind of a wrench in the theory. Like, oh, no, I got, Vicodin 10s and I really wanted the perk 30. That's why I asked for something stronger. It just didn't do the job for Eric. He just felt tingly, but he didn't pass out. Well, Michael Jackson died. I want the Michael Jackson shite. I want the Michael Jackson shite. Give me that shit that Michael had, yeah? He died. Not a good look.
And brought it to him in the bedroom. He drank it in bed and died not long after this. According to one of Eric's sisters, another poisoning incident happened years earlier when Eric was on a trip to Greece with Kouri. Eric told his sister that Kouri gave him an alcoholic beverage, which caused him to become violently ill. He said that he believed Kouri had tried to kill him. Kouri told the police that she left her cell phone in her bedroom when she walked.
Okay, so these are, you cannot dispute these. These are indisputable facts. I'm sure they can look at texts from 2021, 2020, whenever the hell this was. I highly doubt the sister is lying. Like, if my brother, passes away from an OD, what's the point of getting, his kid's mother locked up? What would the point of that be? For what? Oh, yeah, my brother who I love, the nieces and nephews that I love, I'm just going to get their mother locked up just, for no reason. Just, they're trying to dispute the credibility of the sisters. There's no leg to stand on. It doesn't make any sense. They don't want their brother's children to be parentless. It's not, what's the incentive? If the brother's a drug addict, the brother's a drug addict. I got many friends that have passed away. Yeah, it's easy to, the parents, the girlfriend enabled them, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, you're your own man. At the end of the day, you are. Just doesn't make any sense. And if Eric had said this I'm pretty sure it's true. I have never told anybody in my immediate family, oh, my girlfriend tried to drug me. I've never said that. I've never said that in my entire life, and I've been through a lot of shit. Never said it. I think that gives it a little credence, that it's not a normal thing to say. I don't know, and the guy's, not here anymore? Maybe it had some credibility. Just me.
Walked to her son's bedroom, but the phone was used during that time. Eric told his friends that if anything happened to him, Kouri was responsible. Several of Eric's family members told investigators that they believed Kouri was involved in Eric's death. In January 2022, about 3 months before Eric died, Kouri updated Eric's life insurance policy to make herself the sole beneficiary.
Okay. Whoa! Time out, ref. Time out. Okay. So I've had 1 million THC gummies in my life. 0 have been cut with fentanyl. Even got some on the black market. AKA my buddy that has a med card. The black market. It's a fucking joke. But now they're saying
3 months before Eric died, Kouri updated
life insurance. All right, so it's all coming together now. Eric accused Kouri of poisoning him in Greece. She updated the life insurance. This is all within 3, 4, 5, 6 months span. She updated life insurance. She poisoned him in Greece, potentially, allegedly. She changed the trustee on the estate, or she thought she had, before Eric changed it back. So she changed the trustee on the estate. She upgraded life insurance. There's evidence of potential poisoning attempts 2 times over, Greece and 6 days before the official homicide. And yet we're supposed to believe that the THC gummies that no cops found at the residence were laced with fentanyl for some reason. Think about it from a drug dealer's perspective. Do you think drug dealers want their patients to die? Text messages exist. If someone dies, you get implicated, you get audited, and you get charged. What would be the purpose of that? It doesn't mimic weed, euphoria, or marijuana effects. Doesn't. Maybe if you're trying to pretend to sell perk 30s, heroin, Vicodin, okay. Yeah, I could see, 0.1 of this equals 0.9 of that. I can save money. I can rip these people off. I understand that. Weed? No. I could go get weed at my local head shop that sells cigars, THC 9, Delta 8, THCP, whatever the fucking bullocks that it is. Just doesn't happen. So the life insurance, the trustee estate, the poisoning attempts, but we're supposed to believe the THC gummies were laced. Come on.
Eric's life insurance policy to make herself the sole beneficiary. The insurance company notified Eric and his business partner, and they changed the policy back to the way it was. Sometime before Eric's death, he removed his wife from his will and life insurance and told people he did this because he thought his wife might kill him for the money. Eric was...
So this dude even had inklings. He canceled life insurance. He changed the estate, the trustee back. He knew. He told his family, she's trying to kill me. And yet he was the unlucky one who had the fentanyl THC gummies. I've had 1 million THC gummies. This dude whose wife got life insurance, who had a 7-day all-inclusive resort booked with her lover in an affair, who tried to get the trustee of the estate in her name, drugged him in Greece. He just happened to get the fentanyl-laced gummies. The black market. I mean, if you're believing this, good Lord. Good Lord.
Looking into getting a divorce and was concerned about how his children would be cared for. Right before Eric died, he had been arguing with his wife about a 22,000 square foot mansion that she wanted to purchase for about $2 million. The idea here was to flip the property. 1,000 square foot.
There's the mansion. So she wanted to get this mansion, flip it, even though in reality her finances were absolutely in the gutter. I think the prosecution said $300,000 in debt, loans, had stolen money from Eric's masonry company. Holy shite. But she was just majorly in debt. I mean, they talk about this in opening statements if you want to get the true details, but loan after loan, credit card max after credit card max, everything in the shitter. Eric didn't want to do this. Trust his wife who's about to divorce him, who's drugging him, who's majorly in debt, maxing out his credit cards. No, hell no.
Mansion.
But as soon as he dies or passes away, I apologize, Eric's sister testifies that very same night, the night caught on police body cam when Kouri's in the onesie bullshit, the kid's onesie. You know, the pajama. I was sleeping with my kid. I didn't have my phone. That's very same night, her partner, her friend, her business partner, and her friend comes in, and they discuss closing on this mansion. Meanwhile, Eric's sister is bawling in shambles. I mean, if that's not circumstantial evidence does not exist.
That she wanted to purchase for about $2 million. The idea here was to flip the property. Kouri said that they were celebrating closing on that property the night Eric died, but family members said that Eric was going to tell Kouri that they were not going to buy the mansion. The day after Eric died, Kouri signed the closing papers for that mansion. That same day, she hosted a party where she consumed alcohol and allegedly assaulted her sister-in-law.
Assaulted her sister-in-law, consumed alcohol at a party, closed on a mansion. What? Who does that if your fucking spouse dies? If my girl died, I would be in shambles. You wouldn't see me. I wouldn't be uploading any videos. I wouldn't be going to work. I would be taking, bereavement. I would be locked away. Just God knows what I would be doing. I wouldn't be closing mansions, having parties. And there's also text messages, which I'm not going to get into here because I don't have the texts, that says to her lover, her affair partner, if only Eric was gone. This was like a week before. If only he was gone, we could get away and have an amazing life together. It would be so fantastic. Oh my God, how amazing that would be. Pfft, shut up. What a disgrace. Anyway, we also have the walk the dog letter. This is another incriminating piece of evidence that Kouri Richins, has in this case. Lawyer Lee is going to talk about it. She has 200K subscribers. Go follow her channel. She's amazing. I love her. I watch a lot of her lives. But she makes a couple good points here. Talking about the walk the dog letter. Now, this was a letter found in Kouri Richins' jail cell. I think she had assaulted a guard or had some sort of altercation where they had to search her prison cell. It's just, you have no freedom in prison. They search your cell if they want to, and there was some sort of incident. She got her cell searched. Say that 10 times fast. Holy shit. So there was a envelope. It said lawyer, whatever it said. What is it? Lawyer defendant privilege or, the privilege, lawyer privilege on it. That's what it said. So you can't look at it, officers. Well, that's not how that works. That's not how the lawyer privilege works. That works on phone calls, in-person meetings, notes that your lawyer would keep, not shit in your jail cell. Anything in your jail cell, they can go through. You could have weapons, you could have shanks, you could have secret notes, you could have plans, blueprints, all fair game. Doesn't matter if you have an envelope labeled, lawyer, defendant, exclusive, secretive, whatever the fucking term is. Doesn't matter at all. So they find this letter in Kouri Richins' cell, and it's pretty incriminating. Let's see what Lawyer Lee has to say on it.
ought to be. And the prosecution says that's witness tampering. And they've asked the judge to prevent Kouri Richins from talking to either her mother or her brother until trial happens. So Kouri Richins then told her mother on a phone call that this was really just a novel that she was writing. And it wasn't anything that was intended to be actual instructions for somebody to follow. So I'm going to take you on a very quick tour through the Walk the Dog letter. We'll start with that. And let's see if I have that up. I'm too far along, though.
Take us on the tour. So here's the letter right here. I don't know if you, I'm sure you guys said walk the dog. What could that, obviously that's not code, right? Maybe she's just worried about her mother's dog. You know, her mom's probably a little bit older. Knees are probably banged up. Arthritis. A lot of icy hot. You know, Shaquille O'Neal up in this hoe. Wiping her down. Getting the knees, you know, lubed up. Walk the dog, mommy. You gotta walk the fucking dog, mommy. That dog need that exercise. No. No, it's code. Okay? We all saw the Adelson trial, the TV. Oh, man, how much for that pizza? Like, it's just, come on. It's just, figure something else out. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, there's incriminating notes right here. She tried to pretend this was a novel she was writing, similar to the Is He Still With Us children's book. Ridiculous. I wanted to say a different word, but, you know, keep it censored for YouTube. Ridiculous. Are you still with us, Daddy? About some creepy fucking angel. Their dad supposedly walking with them. Every soccer game you play, graduation, your dad will be there. You just have to say, are you with me, Daddy? Yes, I see you. I'm still here. Shut up. Shut up. You killed the dad. Anyway, incriminating evidence Lawyer Lee's going to talk about.
So here is the Walt the Dog letter, called Walt the Dog for pretty obvious reasons, right? That's in big letters at the top. Now, Walt the Dog, as I learned from y'all, is could mean to overcome, to overpower, and to dominate. That's what it could mean. Now, let's take a look just at 7 points from the Walt the Dog letter, just so you'll understand kind of what we're talking about. The first is there twice are places where she said,
I think it means walk the dog, walk this dude, take control of this situation, walk this trial down. Let's get our leashes on this fucking hoe and walk this dog home. That's what I believe.
That's what you see where the number one is.
And if you don't like the cursing, go find another channel. This is Akjay's channel. Sorry.
Take vague notes. So that the prosecution
Take vague notes. Shows it right there. Let me try.
Isn't something you would say in a novel. Who's supposed to take vague notes from a novel? What does that even mean? So the prosecution says, no, this is instructions. Then you look down at where number 2 is, and it's hard to read, but it says, you have to talk to Ronnie. He would probably have to testify to this, but it's super short, not a lot to it. And the prosecution view is, again, that doesn't sound like a novel. That sounds like she's telling someone something to say, and it might.
How is take vague notes, tell Ronnie, my brother, you have to testify to this, a novel? Makes no sense. She is so cooked. If the jury somehow, if they deliberate for longer than a day, I'm going to be flabbergasted.
Be intimidating to think, oh, I have to remember all this. And she's saying, oh, it's not that much to memorize. So that's the prosecution view of what this letter means. Eric, and then let's go to number 3. And in general, apparently, one of Kouri's defenses is going to be that Eric, her husband, took the fentanyl himself. He personally had an addiction problem, and he took the fentanyl.
Okay, there should be text messages about him getting it from a drug dealer. There should be past fentanyl experiences, pictures on his phone, friends that have done it with him. There's a million ways to prove that. It's a glass theory. It's really a glass theory. But here's another thing in the Walk the Dog letter, the back page here that I kind of thought was interesting, wanted to bring to your guys' attention. Let's take a look.
That sounds like new information he's supposed to memorize and remember. Then let's go to the next section. Oops, number 5. When you talk to Ronnie about this, meet up with him in person. I worry sometimes your house and phone are bugged. Maybe drive down to SL, which I think is Salt Lake, and
How is this a novel? Ronnie is her brother. Your house is bugged. Tell him to say this. Take vague notes. This is what happened. He got the drugs from you. He's gotten drugs in the... I mean, I know when people hear the word circumstantial evidence, it's like, whoa, there's no smoking gun, man. Fucking magic spells and butterflies and wands. It's like, no. She took out life insurance. She sold the estate in 2 days. She closed on the mansion Eric didn't want. She had text messages with a drug dealer for fentanyl 6 days ago when Eric complained. She asked the drug dealer for stronger drugs, Michael Jackson stuff. She wasn't concerned with the children. The same night she was talking to her friend about closing on the estate. She fought the sister. She's in jail writing this letter. Take vague notes. Tell Ronnie to say this in testimony. Say this happened. This could potentially happen. On and on and on. I mean, circumstantial doesn't really group up this load of evidence. You know.
meet him after work without Bree. Bree is, in fact, Ronnie's spouse, Ronnie's wife. So this
Without
particular
Bree? Why?
section, then the prosecution is going to say is, why would you need to be so secretive? This is a novel you're writing. I mean, who is it exactly whose phone might be bugged, who's supposed to meet up with Ronnie privately to talk with him? And why? Why is this all a big secret? And so secret, even her brother's wife can't know about it. You'll see down.
That's what we're all asking, Lawyer Lee. That's what we're all asking. So that's what I got for you guys. We're only... Sorry if I didn't, put it back on Lawyer Lee, but we're only 2 days into this trial. But to me, there's so much circumstance. Like, if this was true, right? There might be a text on Eric's phone about fentanyl, about painkillers in general. Percocet, Vicodin. Why would he accuse his wife of poisoning him in Greece? Poisoning him 6 days before with a sandwich. Why would he change the trust that Kouri put in her name back to his sister? Why would Kouri take out a life insurance policy 6 days before? Why would she have a fully all-inclusive resort booked with her lover 7 days after the death? Why would she not console her kids while the cops are there? Why were there no THC gummies in the residence, even though she said potential THC gummies? It goes on and on and on. Why would the drug dealer come out and say, no, I gave fentanyl to Kouri. This is how much, this is what she paid, blah, 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 blah. I mean, come on. What are we talking about? There's circumstantial, and then there's circumstantial. You know what I'm saying? That's all I got on this case so far. Kouri Richins, obviously we're going to stay with it. We got Nancy Guthrie still out there, day 24. Hopefully we can find her soon, dead or alive, unfortunately. I just want the family to get a resolution to this, figure out what happened, figure out where the potential body is. Hopefully she's still out there. But I appreciate you guys. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to continue to cover the Kouri Richins case. We're going to cover the UFC Oliveira versus Holloway BMF title fight March 7th. I got my first child due March 15th. Appreciate the support. Stay with me. Akjay is here to stay. Tune in, turn up, and let's get some justice for Eric Richins. Down the hatch.